I would like to share with you 3 pivotal relationships that I attribute to the success I have had both personally and professionally. All 3 started as business relationships and have evolved to much more. Before I begin, I think it's important to share a brief history. In 1986, I was voted the shyest person in my graduating class. As a shy person, this attention horrified me. I say this because while for some of you, the 3 stories I tell you may sound easy, for me it was not. I had to push myself way out of my comfort zone. I want to encourage those of you who might also find it difficult to put yourself out there. The benefits are tremendous. Welcome to the Stay at Home Nurse Podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Cooper Gillingham, bedside nurse turned lifestyle entrepreneur. I started my career as a nurse in 1994 and worked in a variety of settings, eventually landing a dream job as a work-from-home case manager. But it still did not give me the freedom and flexibility I desired. So in 2014, I created a side hustle that turned into a multi-6-figure lifestyle business, allowing me to leave my job and move to the Caribbean in 2016. I haven't looked back since. I now travel the world while running my business. I have fulfillment, freedom, flexibility, and fun. I want the same for you. This podcast is here to inspire and equip you to live your best life. Let's get started. I was asked to speak at my friend's book launch about the value of building a network of friends as you grow personally and professionally. The talk went over extremely well, and I wanted to share it with you. Now, this friend was one of the ones I mentioned in an earlier podcast episode that we have been in a mastermind now for several years, and I was honored to be able to speak at her book launch party for her first book, Do What Matters, Live from Rest, Not Rush, Using the Real Life Process by my friend, Teresa McCoy. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, I felt very alone. No one I had a relationship with had ever done anything entrepreneurial. I was listening to podcasts and learning a lot, but it was all one-sided. I had no one to bounce ideas off of, share my hopes, dreams, and goals, and no one to encourage me and keep me on the right track. I decided to go to an event where I could meet other online entrepreneurs and hopefully form a relationship with others who were on this journey. I chose one that had a reputation for being newbie friendly, and I attended a virtual first-time attendee Google Hangouts. Yes, this was several years ago when Google Hangouts were around, and was told how important it was to sit with others at meals. They actually told us that if we did not know anybody to sit with, that we should tell the hostess that we were with their organization, their conference, and they would find a table of other people and seat us at it. This made me very nervous as a shy person to do this, but I made a promise to myself that I would eat all of my meals with at least one other person and attend all the events, including the networking events. Now, normally I would just attend the conference and I go to my room and just relax and recuperate because I needed that time as an introvert to just recharge. But I made myself a promise that at the time I didn't have a lot of money, and if I was going to invest the time and money and take myself away from my children for the weekend, I had to make the most of this experience. So I did that. I attended all the conferences, all the scheduled networking events, and thought I had done a pretty good job until at the very end, I was told by one of the event coordinators, she asked me where I had been, and I was like, what do you mean, where have I been? I've been at everything that has been offered. And I was told that all the magic happens after hours at the bar. Now, I had a new goal for the next conference that was going to be held in 6 months, that I would make sure that I would be where all the magic happens. But I wasn't comfortable hanging out by myself at a bar as a woman. It just didn't feel comfortable for me. I know a lot of people feel comfortable with it. Again, I'm an introvert. I'm very shy. So that wasn't something that was within my comfort level. Because this was my second time going to this conference now, we're fast forwarding 6 months, I met several friends at the first conference and I asked them if they would go with me to the bar because that's where all the magic happens. And they all were very excited and they all said yes. And then one by one, they all backed out. The last one that backed out actually introduced me to a friend of hers who she said, although she, wasn't feeling up to it, that this friend would introduce me. He was very well connected. That ended up being Abby, who is now my business and life partner. So that was a very serendipitous, it was just meant to be event. Abby was great. He introduced me to many of the key people at the conference. These were very established people, the speakers, the event coordinators that I would have never just went up and talked to and introduced myself to. But he kind of got me the seat at the cool kids table, literally. And I had a great time. We had an absolutely wonderful time. I got to know all these people. And because we sat and talked for hours, I now considered them my friends. As I mentioned today, Abby and I are business and life partners. And while I would like to it would take me all day to list all the things that he is, there are two important things that he is not. He is not an industry expert in case management, and he is not a woman. And that's where the next two relationships come in. Fast forward a year and a half, I are at the South Carolina State Fair, and I get a message on Facebook Messenger from someone I have never met before. She says that she loves what I'm doing in case management and I should call her. So I do a quick Google search and I learn that she is a leader in case management. She is the past president of our professional organization and the lifetime achievement winner. So I was a little bit nervous, but that ended up being a mentoring relationship that turned into numerous collaborations and eventually a dear friendship. Anne has introduced me to industry leaders that have turned into even more friendships and even more collaborations. And she has challenged me to set very high expectations, far beyond where I would have ever dreamed. When I say challenge, she just would bring things up that she thought I should do and expected me to do them. And I thought all of these things were way out of our league. One of them was the salary and trend survey. Who am I to conduct a salary and trend survey? But she believed that I could and made me believe that I could. She also helped me form a collaboration with CMSA. It wasn't easy. It took a lot of time and effort, but she led the way and assured me that it would happen and it was worth my time and effort. And she also helped me to do my first public speaking. I was asked to do a pre-con at the National Nurses in Business Association. And I was terrified. As I said, I was the shyest person in the class. To get up in front of a bunch of live people and talk was not anywhere within my comfort zone. And to do it at a pre-con, which was going to be 4 hours long, was just, I broke out in a cold sweat just thinking about it. But she said she was going to do it with me and pretty much told me I was going to do it. So she did do the conference pre-con with me and made it a very enjoyable experience. With her mentoring, I was able to be published in our industry magazine and fulfilled my bucket list goal of speaking on the big stage at our industry conference. This mentor-mentee relationship has grown into a true friendship. We get together with her and her husband every time we're in Fort Lauderdale, and I consider her like family. This relationship grew for several reasons. I was always looking for ways to reciprocate and provide value to her. I followed through on what she asked of me and reported back with results, even when what she asked of me was way outside my comfort zone. If Anne believed that I could do it, I believed I could do it. Eventually, as I became more established, I was able to be as much of an asset to her as she was to me, and now we have a mutually beneficial relationship. While Anne, unlike Abby, was a woman and a case manager, she was not an entrepreneur. I was missing one key relationship, a mastermind. That's when I met Michelle and Teresa. Abby and I moved to Mexico, where we knew absolutely no one but each other. I needed someone to talk to on a weekly basis about all the ideas that were going through my head. I went on Dan Miller's cruise with the goal of meeting other like-minded people to form a mastermind. I met many great people on that cruise, but Teresa, Michelle, and I clicked. So after the cruise, we began meeting on Zoom weekly to talk business. Now, I have to say, when I went to each of them to ask them to do this, I was very nervous. Yes, we had met on a cruise and yes, we had clicked, but we always meet people at places and then we never see them or talk to them again. To ask them to commit to speaking weekly for 90 minutes for the rest of our lives, or at least for the foreseeable future, was a big ask. But they graciously accepted, and that just started a wonderful relationship. It also turned into a wonderful friendship. We have watched each other's businesses morph and grow. We have shared wins. We've celebrated and mourned personal moments. We've celebrated births, deaths, and we've been through a lot together. A year ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I was totally confused and burned out, I felt very unsure about what I wanted to do, and I just was frozen. I wanted to do everything and nothing at the same time. By talking to Michelle and Teresa, who have seen me go from nothing to where I had been at that point and then to the burnout point. So they've seen the highs, the lows, and the in-between. They were able to support me through this because they knew my goals, they knew my dreams, and they knew my history. So some key takeaways. Don't expect one relationship to meet all of your needs. I'm very blessed to have Abhi as my business and life partner, but expecting him to meet all of my needs is unreasonable. These are just 3 of the relationships I make time for on a regular basis, and each one brings something different to my world. Another takeaway, take advantage of opportunity when it knocks. Anne is retired and often reaches out to mentor case managers. Most never take advantage of this opportunity. Maybe like me, they don't feel like they belong with people that are more successful, and they might have some imposter syndrome. But the cure is to get to know these people. They're human. Spend time with them. Spend time with people who you want to be more like. It really makes me sad to think that Anne would reach out to these people. She's an incredible resource, and for whatever reason, they don't grab this opportunity like I do, or like I did. And they're really missing an opportunity to grow significantly in the field. So when opportunity knocks, grab it. There's just something about that. So whenever possible, have some in-person meetings. Another takeaway is it takes time. It takes time to really get to the point in the relationship where you fully trust the other person and where they truly understand everything about you. By going through and watching the history as it happens versus hearing about it brings much more clarity. So with my friendships, these people have seen me go through a lot of different things. They know my history. So when something new came up, like my burnout, they were able to search back and look at what I really cared about, what was important to me, what my goals were, and pull on that versus me asking me questions and me telling them about it, which may not have been as clear looking back as it was for them seeing it as it happened. So that's why Teresa and Michelle were able to help me through some tough decisions, because they knew what I really wanted. They knew what my strengths and my weaknesses are. And one final thought. If you're an employee, you have very little influence over who your colleagues are and who you get to spend the most time with. But that doesn't mean you don't have any control over it. If you're in a very negative place with people who are not the type of people you want to be around, consider changing jobs. And as entrepreneurs, we have an advantage. We get to choose who we work with and who we spend time with. Make sure that your choices are wise ones. I'm successful today because of the people I surround myself with. It's not an accident. It's very purposeful. I hope you have found this episode helpful. I would love it if you would leave a rating and review. It really helps others to find the podcast.